The properties of language. So first, let's define language. A language is an arbitrary system of articulated sounds made as a by group of humans as means of carrying on the affairs of their society. Remember, language is a structured system of communication used by humans, written or gesture. And also, language is systematic. Language is basically oral, and that the oral symbols represent meaning related to life situation and experiences. Number 3, language has a social function, and without it, society would not exist. For additional learning, let's define linguistics. So what is linguistic? Linguistic is the scientific study of language. Remember, it is a scientific study of language. It deals with a particular body of material spoken in written language. Linguistics is divided into 5 main branches. There are phonics, phonemics, morphemics, syntax, semantics. I will not explain the 5 branches of linguistics. So let's go to the main topic, the properties of language. So there are 6 unique properties of language. They are displacement, arbitrariness, productivity, cultural transmission, discreteness, duality. But I'm only discussing the 3 properties. Let's start with cultural transmission. But first, let's define culture and transmission separately. Culture is a set of attitudes, values, beliefs, and behavioral scripts that are generally shared by a group of people. Language, marriage, practices, and governmental configurations, to name a few, can all be included, as can definition of a family, greeting behaviors, housing, structures, and death rituals. Culture's primary function is to provide a consistent and stable environment. So, when we say culture, ito yung lagi na nating kinasanayan. We adapt our day-to-day life experiences on our culture, such as the pag-uugali or the behavior, family greetings, death rituals, or especially the language. Furthermore, transmission, the action or a process of transmitting something or the state of being transmitted. Moreover, this is the actual meaning of cultural transmission. Cultural transmission is the property which relates to the fact that the language must be acquired or learned by each new generation. Cultural transmission is a process through which cultural elements in the form of attitudes, values, beliefs, and behavioral scripts are passed on to the thought to the individuals and groups. Furthermore, it is generally regarded as one of the key characteristics distinguishing human language from animal and communication. To add, according to linguist Tao Gong, there are 3 primary forms of cultural transmission. Number 1 is horizontal transmission, communication among individuals of the same generation. Example of horizontal transmission is communication within a team. Horizontal communication occurs formally in meetings, presentations, and formal electronic communication, and informally in other, more casual exchanges within the office. Based of what I have understand, it is the use of jargons in one field. Example, in the field of medicine, doctor can understand what is the meaning of the stethoscope. However, as for normal people, we need to search what is the meaning of that. For better understanding, they use specific languages such as jargons to understand each other vividly. Let's move on to the second one, vertical transmission, in which a member of one generation talks to a biologically related member of a later generation. In addition, oblique transmission, in which any member of one generation talks to any non-biologically related member of a later generation. An example of vertical transmission is from parents to offspring. Example, my mother always using Tagalog when she is talking to me. So, as the time passes by, a lot of people around me are using Bulinaw language as their first language. However, I can understand it because my mother does not taught me on how to speak or understand Bulinaw because at the first place, she does not talk Bulinaw. As a result, I can understand Bulinaw. So another primary forms of cultural transmission is oblique transmission. Oblique transmission, in which any member of one generation talks to any non-biologically related member of a later generation. Example of oblique transmission is from an individual of the parental generation but not the parents to the offspring. For example, I do not learn Ilocano from my parents. I learn Ilocano from schools, from my classmates, from my camaraderie who speaks Ilocano because my parents does not talk Ilocano on their everyday life. Sum up, cultural transmission, language is acquired through culture. Also, according to Michael Tomasello, we acquire a language in a culture with other speakers and not from parental genes. He says that the evidence that human beings do indeed have species-unique modes of cultural transmission is overwhelming. Human infants produce no instinctive language. He also said that cultural transmission of a specific language is crucial in the human acquisition process. Moving forward, the another properties of language is discreteness. So let's define this discreteness technically. Discreteness, the state of being several and distinct. Synonyms: distinctness, separateness, severality, type of separation, the state of lacking unity. On the other hand, this is the operational definition of discreteness in language. Property of language: when each sound is treated as discrete is described as discreteness. For example, the English word tin would consist of 3 units: T, I, N. Speech units can be ordered and reordered, combined, and split apart. Moreover, it is the sound used in language are meaningfully distinct. Furthermore, the sounds within the language are considered their own discrete sounds with their own distinct meanings. In short, the sound produced of each letter when pronounced is unique. Example, when we were young, we are taught to read ABC. When we read the vowel sound, we do not just read A, I, O, U. We are also taught to pronounce the sounds like A, E, and so on. The last property of language that I will be explaining is the duality. When we say duality, it's the ability of human language users describe the fact that by using a limited set of distinct sounds, human language users can produce a very large number of sound combinations or words which are distinct in meaning. Another definition of duality: at one level of language, there are discrete sounds, and at another, there are discrete meanings. You can combine the letters G, O, and B in 2 different ways. God and dog, and those 2 words mean things or sound differently, even though they are comprised of the same 3 sounds.